Those of you who are regular listeners to the show, you have, and for a long time, you probably remember that I used to do projections by quarter, by year, sometimes years into the future. And I'd actually use slides and stuff. Well, I've done it a little differently this time. I've actually encouraged Grok to help me make some projections. And so we'll take a look. We're going to be looking at quarter four, 2026 as the full expression of what's going to happen in 2026. We'll be moving along at levels that we can then make projections with regard to 2027. So I think that's the best one to look at. So without further ado, I'm going to attempt to share. You know, this doesn't always work, doesn't always end well, but we're working on it here. Let's see. Then we want to make a slideshow. Yes. View as slideshow. Here we go. All right. So there's probably an easier way to do what I just did. Anyway, let's start out. We start out with the cars. So we've got the bear case for cars, the base case, the bull case, the bear for semi, and the base and the bull for semi. All right. So what you're showing here is units shipped on the cars from 400,000, which would be, a really low number. So this isn't, according to Grok, this would assume, a rough year, things not going very, very well. The base case, obviously that's supposed to be the most realistic for next year, only 550,000. And then a bull case, 650,000. And I think, that would probably be my base case, but I'll go along with Grok on that. This is for a quarter. And then the bear case for semi would be 1,000 vehicles. Now, remember, we're supposed to be up to 50,000 a year. Well, let's say 40 to 50,000 a year. So only 1,000 would be, that means, boy, the ramp didn't go very well. 3,000 per quarter. I would say the ramp is still going very, very poorly. And then the bull case at 5,000 per quarter or 20,000 a year. That would be probably my bear case, but I'm going to go along with Grok on this one. Revenues coming in at, as you can see, 16 million, 24, 29, et cetera, 0.2 billion, 0.8 billion, and 1.3 billion. All right. Gross margins. Gross margins. 15% would be, for cars would be in the low range of what we've seen over time. 18% would be kind of the middle range of what we've seen over time, and 21%. We've seen more than 21% during COVID, but other than that, we've rarely been above 21%. So that seems reasonable. On the bear case for semi, you'd be looking at such a small ramp that you're still paying a lot of the setup fees and stuff. So 15% seems realistic. 20% at the middle, same thing. Your ramp is still not great, but if you're going 5,000, you're fully ramped. You're not 100% of capacity, but you're fully ramped in terms of making money. And so it's suggesting 25% margins that level. I think it's going to be higher, but let's go. That's a fine number. So the gross profit would be for the bear case 2.4, base case 4.5, bulls 6.2, and then on semi would be only 30 million, and then 150 million, and then 300 million on the profit. All right, so that's what we're looking at, cars and semi-truck. All right, now we go on to the energy, which would be, the mega pack. And this is basically based on historical information in terms of the growth so far, based on the fact that we do have another factory that will be fully ramped. So bear case, 20 gigawatt hours deployed. That is actually my bear case that'd be my bear case for January, but anyway, or for the first quarter. Base case 35, and then bull case 45. Now the bull case here seems a little strong. That would maybe assume we're starting to get something from Houston, but that are fully deployed. Revenue then, as you see, 4 and 7 billion, and then $9 billion with a B. Gross margin, 25%, 28%, and 30%. That would represent kind of the low and the high that we've seen so far over the last couple of years. And then gross profit, you can see, is 1 billion, 2 billion, or $2.7 billion with a B. That's a good number. He says insights, $200 million per gigawatt hour. And the bull case is driven by demand. And yeah, okay. So all that makes sense. All right. So how about Robotaxi? The metric here, total fleet revenues. This would be the owned fleet revenues. Bear case only 100 million, base case 300 million, and bull case 2.25 billion. So I made him redo his bull case. Him. I made Grok redo the bull case because I said, shouldn't we be taking into consideration Elon's, bull case? All right. So again, a bull case is a bull case. Why wouldn't we use the CEO and most successful entrepreneur ever in the world, at least for the bull case? So that's what we did. Tesla margin, 40% on bear, 60% on base, smaller volumes, more overhead, more specific, cost of goods. And then the bull case, the revenues the margins would get like up to 80%, which makes sense. And Tesla gross profit, you can see only 40 million, 180 million, but then we get in the bull case, we finally get into the billions at $1.8 billion. Then the owner fleet revenue, that would be you and me putting our cars out there. And we've got the bear case at 50 million, base case 150 million in revenues, and the bull case 4.75 billion. Margins would be lower. I think this, again, the numbers might be a little strong. The margins for Tesla, 50% on the owner cars, 70% is a base case. In bull case, 70% also. This might be a little high. So all of this might be just a tad high. Anyway, we come up with a gross profit on the owner side at 25 million, 100 million, and then finally 3.325 billion. And yeah, utilization, sorry, $1 a mile, 60% utilization. That's dollar a mile is probably low. So therefore, that might make up for the bull case being high in other carriers. I think it's going to be way more than $1 a mile average by fourth quarter of next year. So there you go. Then let's go on to energy. Energy. No, this would be Optimus. Oh, energy deployments. Okay. 20 gigawatt hours, 35 and 45. We already know that from above. Okay. Optimus, 5,000 leased at 60,000 a year. 25,000, that's the bear case. 25,000 leased would be the base case, and 60,000 leased is the bull case. And then the operating expense ratio, 12% would be if we have a really bad year. 10%, dropping to 10% for OPEX ratio, operating expense. And then if you have a really good year, we're down to 8% on the operating expenses. All right. So now that gives us the total totals. You got bear case of total revenue, 23.9 billion. That is about where we're going to end up the year. A little higher, maybe we might be 26, 27, but roughly where we are right now. But base case, we jump up. The base case, we jump up to 38.4 billion. And then the bull case, we jump up to 55.5 billion, double today's numbers. So, and I think that's fair. I think that might be very close. Total gross profit, 4.7, and then 9.5 if we just get to the base case, but 19.5 if we make it to the bull case. Nobody's going to believe this number, but that's probably, in my opinion, that might be low. Because there's a couple of things back there that might explode even more. OPEX would then be, as you can see, 2.9 billion, 3.8, and 4.4, leaving us with a GAAP profit of only $1.4 billion on the bear case, 4.5 on the base case, and then 12 billion. This is what happens when Robotaxi and Optimus start really clicking in. $12 billion on GAAP profit for the quarter. So EPS, 40 cents, which would be less than what we're expecting this December. But again, this bear case is based on having a horrible quarter. Base case $1.29. So that would be if the kind of the rough middle game of 65 cents turns out to be true in the third quarter. This would be like double the third quarter. And then finally, $3.46. Insights would be the Bulls 220 billion full year revenue. Autonomy would be 13% of the mix. The revenue split would be autos 55, energy 16, and other 16, autonomy 13. Okay, so then we get to $3.46 of GAAP EPS. You multiply that times 4 to give you your annualized GAAP earnings per share. 4 times that would be, let's call it $14 a share annualized. Annualized $14 a share. Let's say you put 100 PE down from the current, I don't know, 240 or something. Let's say the PE drops all the way down to 100. 14 times 100, that's $1,400. I think. Didn't I do that right? So $1,400 by the end of the year. And of course, $1,400 would be based on the annualized estimate or the annualized result as opposed to the go forward. So, where we would assume that all of these numbers would be growing dramatically in the following year. And 100 PE might be too low, but I think there's a good chance we come down to like 100 PE if we get these kind of numbers. All right, so that is what Grok had to say. That is kind of fun. And we'll keep playing with these Grok numbers, by the way. I'm going to have a series of these analyses by Grok. I asked Grok about the catalysts. I'll have that one maybe even coming up later today. I might do 4 videos today. So anyway, the catalyst, what does Grok think the catalysts are? Now remember that these LLMs are supposed to be extremely good at predicting. So that's because they've got just more data, more information to grab than you and I can get in our head. So they're supposed to be very, very good at predicting. So anyway, I asked it about various catalysts between now and the end of the year. It actually cheated and went in January. But anyway, so I might do that one later today. I've also asked it to do some analysis with regard to the current stock market being so overheated. Because, if the stock market takes a 50% header, which it could, it's happened before, how much would Tesla go down if we got a 50% pullback? What if we got a 20% pullback? Tesla could get a 50% pullback. So anyway, it's not unusual to have a 20% pullback. What are the chances? Anyway, that's another one that I've been working with Grok to come up with some answers on that. I've already got those answers, and they're quite intriguing. And there's more. I've got other stuff too that I've been working on with Grok, and I don't know, I'll be splicing this. I'll be bringing you this spice maybe with a few more than expected videos over the weekend, because I do have Phil Beisel coming up tonight, along with our regular, a lot of news. I already practically could do the news show right now. A lot of news available at roughly 4 o'clock, and then Phil Beisel at roughly 7. Tomorrow, I'm supposed to have Cern Basher, and then the regular Monday morning show, which is, of course, on Sunday night. And then I'll do it undoubtedly at least one of these additional Grok analyst stories, which, again, they're just fabulous. Okay, that's all I got for you right now. Oh, well, I should always tell you about what happened last night that you want to go back and check out. Well, Brian Wong and I did a show last night, and Larry and I did a show last night. And some of the questions I was asking both of them and the things that we were discussing show up on both shows. Now, you might want to watch both of them to compare and contrast what both of them were thinking with regard to these imminent issues that are really so important right now. Or maybe you want to choose between them. Do you like the way Brian analyzes things? Do you like the way Larry analyzes things? Anyway, I'll put both cards up so you can make a decision about that. Okay, now I think that's all I got for you right now. So I'm going to say adieu. It's been nice talking to you.